The agents are summoned by Arthur Dales during a hurricane.
What crazy monster will they face when they're sheltered in an apartment building with a group of strangers?
This is not happening.
Quality introduction right there. Written by Mike Angelari, quality introduction writer.
I thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, it is your chosen task, so I'm glad that you step up to the plate for it.
I do.
Did you just write that in the back of a napkin right now? Because I think you might have said that.
You know, I did. Somehow, when I was putting these together, I missed this episode, so I had to do this on the fly a couple minutes ago.
Well,
not my best performance, but
yeah,
good enough.
Well, as I said before we started recording, I have no memory of Agua Mala. I don't think I ever saw it. So
it's quite possible not.
In a way,
flies under the radar.
I mean, I will be honest, after the mythology ended, I kind of checked out on regular X-Files watching, so I figured there's going to be a couple of those. There's going to be a few.
I think once we get to season 8, you're going to be like, this is brand new experience to me. That's just my guess. Because once David Duchovny leaves the show, you were probably like, nah.
I remember a bunch of Agent Doggett episodes, though, and I thought they were pretty good, actually.
Yes.
Because I think we can both agree that nearer to the end of Dee Dee's first incarnation with the show, he was kind of checking out a little bit. Maybe they
absolutely
didn't give him as much because he wasn't like available as much or something. But either way, it was definitely
it's time for a change.
It was time for a change
or a cancellation, one of the two.
Choose your weapon. But yes, we are going to be talking about Agua Mala, the 13th episode of season 6, written by David Amann and directed by Rob Bowman, which is an interesting pairing. David Amann having written Tears of Endearment previous to this, story editor turned writer. And of course, no need to go on and on about Rob Bowman. He's directed half the shows in the series, and they're all really good. But as I understand it, Mike, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the conceit behind this was, hey, we got Darren McGavin available. Let's bring him back to do an Arthur Dales thing. Go write that.
I don't think that's a bad idea at all. Having him available is always good for the X-Files. Any production would be lucky to have him.
I would tend to agree. And it's a neat script. So I obviously had the primacy effect where I get to watch it, once and then rewatch it. But it was weird. I get to cast myself as 1999 Andrew watching through modern eyes, and I will just say right off the bat, I liked it. I mean, there's a rare number of episodes where there is Mulder and Scully and a group of people in the midst of something.
Right.
I'm thinking of Ice. I'm thinking of Firewalker. I'm thinking of...
Come on. Pull another one out of your butt. Do it.
Well, don't let me consult my notes because I got a third one. I will find it. Jersey Devil. The original.
There you go. That works. Couple extra cast members on that one.
All they needed is the Indian from the Village People, and they would have had a party of 5. It would have been great.
That's true.
But the other notable appearance in this show is Joel McKinnon Miller playing Deputy Greer. Do you know what other popular television show he is in?
No, tell me.
Really?
No.
You don't know this?
No, tell me.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Okay.
You really don't know
seen
this.
That. I honestly don't know that.
Okay. Well, the neat touchstone on this is that a couple episodes ago in The Rain King, Dirk Blocker plays the mayor in that episode. And in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Joel McKinnon Miller and Dirk Blocker are cop partners in that show. And they appeared in the X-Files within, 5 episodes of each other.
You get a lot of that. I believe there is, in season 8, there's a couple actors who work side by side for a scene. The guy who plays Dyson in Terminator 2, that guy.
Yeah. Robert Morton.
Yes. He's in an episode, and I believe another cast member from Scandal. It's a show they're both in prominently, but they've worked together in this show on the same episode. I just thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting how that kind of stuff works out, but
it sure is. I mean, this show really,
it
made a lot of careers, I think.
Indeed.
Well, Agua Mala is obviously Spanish for bad water. So this is going to be a water episode, which means we can fill it full of water puns. You ready to get wet, Mike? You ready to...
I'm wet all the time.
Well, I don't need to go any further. That was
Teed
great.
up
so
and hit.
This is a softball I threw at you.
It was a softball.
So let's dive in.
Yes, another appropriate water term.
Exactly.
We've had a couple of those.
It's not often it happens.
The last one I think was maybe Piper Maru in season 3.
Piper Maru. Yeah. Well, it's a hell of a storm in Goodland, Florida, as torrential rain pours down on a house. Is it nighttime, daytime? Impossible to know, the rain's so thick. We transition into the house as we see a hammer pounding nails, a woman reinforcing the windows with slats of wood to keep back the monster storm. She calls out for Evan, her son. Where is he? Evan's downstairs trying to turn on the water in the basement sink, but he calls back. Nothing is coming out. Evan's mom runs downstairs, passing a radio which tells us the tropical storm Leroy has winds of over 100 miles per hour, is 25 miles off the coast, and is generally going to be a bad time for everybody in coastal Florida. Downstairs, Evan's mom confirms that water is definitely not coming out, while Evan asks if Dad's going to be all right. She sees a strange surge of water burble up from the floor drain and goes cold. Something is about to happen. We need water, she says, noting that the washing machine is full of clothes, but also fresh water. She has Evan go behind the washing machine where he finds the cat, which is also not having a good time. The two of them try furiously to tip the machine over, and I realize I need to specify it's Mom and Evan, not the cat and Evan. The cat doesn't do anything helpful.
And Evan team up to tip over that washer.
It does not happen. It's too heavy. It slams back down onto the floor. I guess maybe if the cat helped, then it would have tipped over.
Yeah, just an extra push.
Trying again, we don't hear from Evan until he screams, and Mom goes back to take a look at a long, translucent, spiny tentacle has wrapped itself around Evan's neck as he struggles to breathe to Mark Snow's trademark Spider Fingers music. I really can't do it justice. Maybe you'll throw in a sound clip. It's so good. Mom desperately tries to help as more water burbles up from the drain, and suddenly another translucent tentacle appears. She's pulled away from Evan, screaming as the tentacle drags her helplessly into the episode. Credits. Well,
did you say it drags her helplessly away into the episode?
I did.
Okay. That's fine. I just want to make sure I heard that right.
I did it so that I would test whether you were listening or not.
I'm listening.
But yeah, totally.
Initial thoughts on this one.
Well, yeah, exactly. What do you think of it? I thought
exciting.
It was pretty,
exciting. Yeah, good stuff. Good action. Good tension, and we get a bit of an answer that we need later on.
Mm-hmm.
What I will say is, this is a terribly loud intro.
Yeah, you do turn down the volume.
You want to turn down the volume on this one.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was often a skip when I was working at Chrysler building cars, and I had the headphones in. It's not because I didn't like the episode. I was just like,
too loud.
There's a lot going on right now. I just need to get a different episode in.
You're running around the floor with your eyes wide. There's a hurricane in my ears.
It's so
loud. Apparently, this is the only basement in all of Goodland, Florida.
Apparently.
Which, yeah, they don't build houses like this in Florida. Basements on the coast near a hurricane zone, probably not a smart plan.
No.
But, it makes for good TV. I mean, who really knows? And the other thing, Goodland, Florida is actually a place. It has 300 permanent residents. It is not big. So an interesting choice to do this there.
It makes it an interesting choice and kind of a neat one because it's a little bit more believable in terms of their attitudes towards outsiders.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a population of 300, they're not going to have their own troopers out there. I mean, I guess those would be stadies, but I think they're implying that Goodland, Florida is a larger community than it actually is in real life.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, unless you got anything else you want to say about the intro, any other malignment to this amazing episode so far?
The only thing that I noticed was that kid was trying to rip that faucet off. It's like, just turn the knob, dude. But he's like,
righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. That's how it works.
He was trying to rip that faucet out of the...
He was stressed. I mean, come on. He's
whatever.
Some shit.
That's true.
All right. After the credits, we're in Mulder's apartment, the camera tracking through until it settles on the phone and answering machine, where retired FBI man Arthur Dales is leaving a message for Mulder. Dales is in the middle of a tropical storm. Maybe you've heard about it on the news. And he just got a disturbing call from his neighbor that set his teeth on edge. We fade to black. This introductory scene serving as a reason for why Mulder and Scully would voluntarily fly into a hurricane zone. And I ask you, Mike, is it enough? And frankly, if Mulder isn't in the apartment when this message is being left, does that mean he's already on a plane? Is it going to be one of those kind of episodes?
Sure. I think so. He must have had a premonition about his summon to Florida by Arthur Dales. So he's already on the plane.
Well, that follows. Anyway, that's how we're going to get here. I also think that they put this one in the production sequence out of sequence, because I think it's a strange choice to come out of One Son with. Like they we don't have any big congratulations, you're back on the X-Files.
Congratulations, right. They're just there. They're back. They're just there. They don't even mention that Jeffrey Spender's body was probably discovered in his office. It's just... The mythology just glosses over that. Forget the fact that he was found dead, supposedly.
Or was he even found dead?
We don't know.
We have
never
no idea.
I would say I do agree with you in that this feels very like business as usual on the X-Files.
We're back to Monster of the Week, yeah.
Yeah, rather than... okay, we just had something massive happen. Let's get back into the grind.
Mm-hmm.
In earlier seasons, they would have put a scene. All right, crazy shit has just happened. Let's what's a new case we can look at? Or, I've got Firewalker coming through. You should probably take a day to not do anything, Scully. But no, they don't do that here. They just jump right back in. I will say I agree with you, and Monday would probably be a little bit better. Just because it's more tedium, they're in the office more, maybe getting back to usual.
Well, as I understand it, Arcadia coming up soon, they actually talk about the fact that this is the first real X-File that they're given. I haven't rewatched it yet. I haven't even looked at the script, so I don't know if that's true. But at least they pay lip service to the mythology a little bit. I
think obviously because Arthur contacted Mulder directly, it's not something they had in a caseload or anything. So this fits before Two Fathers, where it's like they're just off doing stuff and they're technically still off the X-Files.
Yeah, they can take a vacation day and go off and solve a Monster of the Week mystery if they want.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, what next then? I guess we go down to the hurricane zone. We fade into a residence focused on a kitchen faucet as water drips out. Water, if you haven't guessed already, is going to be the focus of this episode. Bad water, if you will.
Agua Mala.
And it probably bears a little discussion concerning the nature of the water as it's presented in this episode. The title, obviously, in Spanish for bad water, and you can imagine that the Cuban influence on Florida with its Spanish as its native language is at play here. But it's also slang for a particularly nasty jellyfish. It's a term for a Portuguese man of war. So there's lots of different ways you can interpret this.
Are you stealing material?
No, I did this research before.
Suspect.
I will point you to my notes here. I'm sure Bran is flattered if I would be drawing from the chat and put it in.
Just taking his comments.
I'm not that good at vamping. So the real thing to keep an eye on in this episode is the amount of time that Rob Bowman lingers on shots of water. It's a suspense episode. It's a really good one in some cases, where the monster is always hiding, and the implication that's never really resolved is that the monster is invisible in the water until it strikes. Now, we're going to get into that, but I'll I'm going to try and call out some times where Rob gives us some pretty cool water close-ups.
Okay.
So, the faucet in this case belongs to Arthur Dales in his trailer apartment in Florida, where he proceeds to drink the water he poured from the tap while listening to the radio, as well as a police scanner. Chatter on the radio from the cops, which drops all the exposition you need to set it up, is that there's no response from the Shipleys. That's Evan, his mother, their cat, and dad, who we never really got to see. That place is all boarded up, and their vehicle is still present. That's a real mystery indeed. But who's going to solve it, Mike? Who indeed?
Who indeed?
I think the Deputy
Mulder
Greer
and
should
Scully.
solve it. I think Deputy Greer should solve it. I think it should be his episode. I don't think we even need to see Duchovny and Anderson come in and ruin it for Joel McKinnon. Questions,
I could have
answers.
seen this as a non-Mulder Scully episode.
Totally. Stana Cypher and what's his name? The other guy. I can never remember.
Is it Kitzmiller, or am I just making that up? Stana Cypher. I gotta look.
Tells
up.
you how
keep
forgettable
going,
he is,
sir.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Agent Stana Cypher and Kinsley. So I was close. I
Kinsley.
just added a few syllables to his name.
Kinza later.
Kitzmiller.
Kitzmiller. I like it. Who will solve the mystery at play here? And the question is answered when Dale sees headlights pass by outside, and he ambles over to the door with his cane as his new visitors arrive. Opening the door causes it to slam with the gale force winds, and we see two suspiciously familiar figures dressed in wet weather gear, rain pounding down. Of course, it's Mulder and Scully, who escape the pounding rain.
Who's this?
Special Agent Dana Scully.
Scully?
She's my partner.
Uh-huh. Well, don't get too comfortable. You're going to want to get right back out there.
Out where?
Did you tell her what I told you?
Yes, but she's not the type that's easily persuaded.
Is that so?
What he means is I don't hear a story about a sea monster and automatically assume it's the Lord's gospel truth.
Why did you bring her here?
Well, she knows your reputation, your early work on the X-Files, and she has a knack for getting to the bottom of things.
Apparently so does Mr. Dales.
It's a good thing I have a reputation. Otherwise, how could it be impugned?
Look, Mr. Dales, I'm sure that there is good reason for your alarm. I listened to the message that you left for Agent Mulder about your friend.
Shipley's a young couple with their son. Yeah, he lives out in the end of the sand spit. Sarah called me in a panic. She said that something in the house had grabbed Jack, her husband.
In the bathroom, you said?
Yeah, of all places.
It was your description that caused Agent Scully's dubiousness.
No, not my description. No, that was Sarah's. She said that it had tentacles wrapped around her husband's neck and choking him.
And you have no reason to doubt Miss Shipley's report?
No, both she and Jack are marine biologists. Well, at least they were.
So, I guess I got to start talking again. Here we go. That's Arthur Dales, ladies and gentlemen. We're setting him up as a bit of a sexist, but, not terribly so. It's going to be redeemed at the end. Setting us up for the adventure.
Maybe I'm just blind to it. I guess I didn't even put that together. I was thinking he just didn't like the fact that she was asking questions.
True enough. Yeah, there's a competency issue there, not directly related to her gender. So I'll go with that. Well, Dales would go himself, but for his bad hip. And so the two suit up again, preparing to head back out into the worst storm ever, which apparently was a hell to shoot in.
I can imagine this. Not a dry scene in this episode. It feels like
Basically. They had 6 outfits each. Like the costume people actually had to bring like multiple sets so that they could just swap in rather than dry it out. And they just threw out the set after they were done because it was totally waterlogged. We're going to cut now to the Shipley residence, the camera tracking through an eerily empty space and landing on a framed photo showing the family in better times. Mulder breaks down the door and they look around, not getting any response to their hails. Mulder also notes that all the doors are boarded up, echoing the cops' questions on how they managed to get out. Mulder ends up in the impossible basement, finding the washing machine where a standpipe is covered in some goo. He gets some on his hand and it's super sticky and gooey. Scully comes down and joins him. There are no signs of life in the house. Well, she'd know. She's a doctor.
Right.
At this point, the Fox executives must have cued into the fact that there hasn't been action for 8 whole minutes. So the lid of the washing machine suddenly pops open slightly, banging closed again, surprising the agents. There is clearly a monster in there. Well, I don't know if I can need my gun or my harpoon here, quips Mulder, as he opts for a broom instead to open the washing machine lid. The music ramps up as we have the ultimate bait and switch with the cat leaping out and fleeing. How'd the cat get into the washer, queries Scully, with Mulder quipping it must have dropped in for a dip after boarding up all the windows and doors. Oh, Mulder.
That poor cat.
What a line.
I blame little Evan. He thought it would be cool to drown that poor cat. Here's the other
being
question.
Strangled.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he's a serial killer in training. But
fair enough.
My question here is the cat is coming out of the washer, but when we last saw it, it was full of clothes and water.
Yes.
So that cat would be dead.
I have a lot of cat-related notes in this episode.
Oh,
but
please do if you have
that is one of them for sure.
Okay. Because they never succeeded in tipping it over, obviously.
No, exactly. And I have tried to move a washing machine full of water. I will vouch for the fact that sucker is heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck. This is the world's smartest cat. But I will say, in no world that I live in, would a cat voluntarily enter a washing machine filled with water and stay there calmly until 2 FBI agents arrived. You would hear that thing yowling a mile away. Plus, if it's able to smack the lid enough to make it jump, how can't it just get out of there?
Right.
And to which I say, nice try, Mr. Man. You are clearly not a cat owner.
You are clearly not a cat owner.
Yeah. Do you own a cat?
I do own a cat. She's fat, and I call her Tank, but that is not her name. She's a sweetheart, but she's a tank.
You ever put your cat in the washing machine?
All the time.
And how does Tank react to that?
Spin cycle. We use her to balance it out. We just throw some clothes in there along with her.
It gives it a real fluffy after feel.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the agents continue to prowl around the house, happening upon the photo which reminds them that there's a third resident of the house, Jack Shipley, and that he's likely in the boarded up bathroom, which is oddly boarded up at all. Like it's not where the storm is coming from.
Right.
I mean, there must be a hell of a smell coming out of there. Well, they start to unboard the door, and we are introduced to our third character of the show, Sheriff's Deputy Joel McKinnon Miller, who interrupts them at gunpoint, asking them what they're doing there. And we have a nice comic moment where the agents hold their hands up and keep their flashlights in their mouths, preventing them from talking. He does not believe that they are FBI agents. Don't all the nuts roll downhill to Florida, which is a line you will not get tired of in this episode.
No.
Calls in over his radio where he learns that there's no backup available, and he begins to put them under arrest until the cat takes this moment to meow by and distract the deputy, allowing Mulder to smoothly disarm the cop. Again, a man clearly doesn't own a cat. Cats are no way helpful unless there is something in it for them.
Right. Not even accidentally helpful.
No. There is no way that cat is still here. The cat is looking for food, is not prowling around waiting to distract cops.
First stop is to the shitter. Second stop is for any food, any cupboard to get into. Yeah.
No, I think it just went right in the washing machine. It's like, if you're going to stick me in this washing machine, I am not going to hold anything back. Well, Scully shows Greer, this is Deputy Greer, her badge, and everything is fine. Our adventure can continue. And I love Joel McKinnon Miller at this point saying, may I have my gun back, please?
Mulder cautiously hands it back to him.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, I guess he and Mulder finish opening up the bathroom while Scully makes a call from the comfort of their car. Mulder joins her, reporting back that there wasn't anything in the bathroom but more of that slime. She reports they're all done here and need to evacuate, as they are threatening to close the airport. But as usual, Mulder won't let it go.
Absolutely not.
Get out of here.
You think...
Aren't you even curious what happened to these people?
Yes, I'm curious, Mulder, but I'm also suspicious. I mean, I think that Mr. Dales' story is fueled by more than his imagination and not much deeper than the bottom of a highball.
Don't dismiss him so easily. He discovered the X-Files 40 years ago. He's seen things that I've only read about.
Because sea monsters can only be read about, Mulder, because they don't exist.
If the sea is where life began, where our ancestors first walked ashore, then who's to say what new life may be developing in its uncharted depths?
You know what? Maybe you are a member of the Manson family. Mulder, look, there is nothing more for us to do here. There's nothing that the local law enforcement can't do for us. I mean, these people are missing. There's nowhere else to look. I've done my duty for Mr. Dales, for my conscience. I mean, haven't you?
Well, we should at least tell him that we're giving up. Shouldn't we?
Mulder's poetic here.
He is definitely poetic.
He's laying it on to get Scully to feel bad and continue on. And then when she wants to give up, he actually uses the words give up. Damn it.
Damn it.
Let's go tell him. I'm going to have you tell him. Good old Arthur Dales will be happy about this.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised that they don't take a sample of the goo.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been something of interest. Of course, they don't really look prepared as any other episode.
Yeah. It's true. They go in with a net and a broom. You know, that's their preparation.
This is what we're doing.
This is it here. Well, meanwhile, back in the Shipley residence, Deputy Greer continues to search it, heading to the basement. He passes by the drain, which ominously surges up water with that little bloop sound. It's kind of fun.
It's got a little bit of a gray look to it, too.
Oh, this is not water you want to be anywhere near. The episode is reminding us that there are sea monsters out there. And Greer decides to do that thing that absolutely no one should ever do in a horror movie, ever, which is investigate. He pulls out a multi-tool, takes off the cover for the drain, and reaches his hand into the abyss as the music climbs to a horrifying crescendo. Except he doesn't scream and get pulled in. Rather, he pulls his hand out, revealing the sports jersey Evan was wearing from our intro, which was blocking up the drain?
They're alluding to something.
I guess so. And I ask, why would the deputy decide to investigate the drain? I mean, and I don't even understand how he would know that there's something there. Like, there's no indication it's stopped up because the water's flowing up just fine.
That's true. Inconsistency. David, man. Inconsistency.
And as I think about it, and remember, I walked into this episode liking it.
All right, let's not change it. I'll just take the W. I'll cut the episode off right now. Andrew likes it. The end.
Okay, there's a grill on top of that drain.
That's my biggest question. Did the water monster just kind of scoop it back and close up?
It's like, it's a fairly big garment that comes in there. But
yeah.
Brand does note in the chat that why is water coming out of the floor drain? And that is a really salient point. I think it's coming up because it's the sewer backing up. All the ocean water, because of the hurricane, is being pulled into the sewer system and pushed into the house. And this is the vector by which our sea monster is coming in. It is not coming in through the rain, because that is, in fact, fresh water. So
correct. There's
a noteworthy point to examine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, we cut to a terrific scene of the hurricane. Mulder and Scully are driving their car through driving rains, past down trees, until they get stopped at a police roadblock. The cop tells them to turn around to find some place dry to spend the night. The road has been washed out, and there is no way the airport is going to be running now. Scully tries to persist, telling them they're FBI agents, which prompts yet another "don't all the nuts roll downhill to Florida" out of the cop. But Mulder saves it by thanking the cop and driving away. Meanwhile, Deputy Greer is in his car, car 54, TM, when he gets a call from his dispatcher telling him to get off the road. But he's too good for this world, Mike, as he is just going to check into the Breakers condominiums, as it looks like there are people trapped in there. He parks, walks inside, Reggie the cat escaping from the undercarriage of the car. Again, smartest cat in the world. Greer starts to make his rounds through the hallways. If you're home, answer the door or call 911. He arrives at a door which mysteriously opens, seemingly of its own accord, and of course, he walks in to investigate. He gets to the bathroom, door ajar, and he bursts in. Sitting on the toilet is most of a human-like form, mostly turned into a pile of translucent goo with feet and the remains of legs still visible. Yes.
Icky
As
caca.
Mark Snow's Spider Fingers music plays, Greer investigates with his flashlight, getting closer and closer to the abomination, and we see a tentacle writhe inside the gooey mass. Suddenly, it launches out to attack Greer, latching onto his neck and pulling him close. He struggles to pull out his gun, anything, as we cut to commercial. Well,
Yikes.
Yikes indeed. How is this going for you so far? Are you on the edge of your seat?
I'm on the edge of my seat. No, this is fantastic. I love this kind of practical effect work.
Yeah.
Very Alien-esque, Alien Hive anyway.
Oh,
but
the comparisons are real. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, fantastic stuff. And they utilize the obvious tension of him peering in close, and of course something happens, but it's a good effect. They rip that tentacle out around his neck really well. I think it's very fun, very tense, and exciting.
Indeed. Well, we're going to come back to Mulder and Scully continuing to drive through the storm. Mulder saying the best thing about zero visibility is that it can't get any worse. Which I suppose is true.
Mulder.
Well, why are you driving in zero visibility?
Well, you know, she wants to leave, so she's trying to help. Or he's trying to help.
That's true. He's like, no, I'll get you out of here.
He's going to get her out of here in the most dangerous way possible just so she stays. All right.
Right.
All right.
The car broke down. I guess we have to stay now. Scully tries to get help on her cell phone from the local PD, but she loses service. As debris starts to smack onto their car, Scully insists that they need to find a safe place to wait this out. Mulder counters that if they keep driving, at least they're a moving target. And statistically, I don't think that's safer.
No.
I think actually less safe. But, well, he spies a set of flashing red and blues, figuring they can get help from a cop. And they pull into the breaker's condominium. They figure out that this is Deputy Greer's car and look around, finding Greer on the floor in distress. They see horrific marks on his neck as Greer struggles to breathe. Scully figures out he's going to need a tracheotomy or he's going to die. Mulder spots the goo-filled toilet and investigates, pulling out a fine watch from the gooey mess. We figure out that the creature dissolves a human as it eats one, leaving nothing to remain but some goo in their clothes. Meanwhile, Scully conducts her field tracheotomy using the deputy's multi-tool and a pen to save his life. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is some quality doctoring. I would almost say
that we never get.
Only quality doctoring we see out of Scully.
Yeah. Unless she's in an autopsy, she doesn't really take her job all that seriously.
Yeah. Well, she does a good death declaration. This man is dead.
From across the room, he's not breathing, so he's good.
He's dead, Mulder.
So I had a question, and this is probably an obvious answer, but I was just thinking about it.
Sure,
and
I love it.
97, 98 was the really strong El Nino, right? Do you think this episode is based off that idea? I mean, it is just a hurricane, but specifically the 97, 98 El Nino was one of the worst that I remember.
I'm afraid to tell you that hurricanes happen like all the time in Florida.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah. Well, maybe our field researcher...
maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought that was one of the strongest that we've ever had. And this is obviously premiering a year later.
That's true. It could very well be. You know what, Mike? I'm going to assign a task to field researcher Bran to get on the keyboard cowboy there and see if you can't look up some details on the infamous 97-98 El Nino Florida hurricane. See if that is a thing.
Field researcher Bran reporting for duty.
I'm sure that's exactly how he sounds like. He's flattered. Well, what do we got now? We got Mulder focusing on the welts of Greer's neck. Looks like he was attacked or stung. Mulder's going to search for the building for other residents as he thinks that if there is something in this building, it probably came in through the plumbing. Scully grabs Greer's radio and calls in for help, which is overheard by Dales back in his place. He's drinking, listening back and forth over the radio. Scully is not good at this. She calls in for help, but she doesn't actually manage to tell the dispatcher their location. Dale scoffs that she's hesitant to name the antagonist as a sea monster rather than calling it something unknown. Well, there's that.
There's that. He gets
Upstairs.
a taste of Scully's science, rational thinking.
It's the closest he's going to get to being critical of Agent Scully.
Yeah.
Upstairs, Mulder knocks on doors, getting no response, until a man backs out of an apartment, carrying a television. Mulder figures out this guy's a looter, as another man emerges from an apartment down the hall, relieved that someone has come to help. His wife is pregnant, way past her due date. The guy, Walter Suarez, doesn't know the guy with the television, who decides he'll just put the TV back. While Mulder goes in to meet the pregnant lady, Angela Villarreal, who looks like she's going to be a match for the sea monster.
Mr. Mulder, stay there, Mrs. Suarez. We're going to make sure your baby makes it safely into the world.
Well, thank you, but I'm not in labor. And my name is not Suarez, it's Villarreal. He tells people I'm his wife, like he's so macho.
Walter, Angela, I'm going to have to ask you to leave your apartment and come downstairs with me.
Why, you got a car? Oh, Walter here doesn't have a car, not to mention a job.
Right now, I just want to get you someplace where I know you'll be safe.
From what?
I don't know, but whatever it is, it may have seriously injured a sheriff's deputy.
Who? Where?
The manager's apartment. It could be in the complex's plumbing right now.
In the plumbing?
Oh, that's great. I have to go to the bathroom about every 10 seconds.
Kid's gonna be a fighter. Anybody else in the complex that you know?
No one. Oh, there's George.
George.
Yeah, George Vincent. He lives on the first floor. I went and asked him for help, but he just yells, "Go away!" Yeah, he never listens to no one.
He's gonna want to listen to me.
Better go.
It's that time, everyone. The Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Magus Media Productions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/Magus Media, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.
It's for you,
Ooh,
says Mulder. Nice touch. Yeah, so there's the third and fourth members of our party, I guess, and fifth, as we have the unnamed looter so far.
Looter man.
Yeah. George Vincent is going to be the last of our cast of characters. Mulder slams on his door. George answers gruffly, looking through the peephole. He looks like the ultimate prepper, wearing a Kevlar vest, a wonderful conspiracy theorist. He's ready for everything and doesn't look like he'll be leaving the safety of his apartment anytime soon. Mulder quips the line of the episode, "All the nuts roll downhill to Florida," and he leaves.
Oh boy.
I gotta say, I like George Vincent. I think he's a pretty solid character.
Doesn't take any advice, and he's a standard conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, he's got all the traits. He would have fit in well in Unrequited, Sleepless. I forget which Vietnam shows. Yeah, Unrequited. He would have joined that army pretty damn quick.
I wanted to point out that our unnamed looter, whose name is actually Dougie, I believe.
Dougie is canonically his name, but it's never said.
Silas Weir Mitchell. And do you recognize him, sir?
I do recognize him. He becomes that guy, but not in the X-Files. I think this is his only X-Files appearance, isn't it?
This is his only X-Files.
Yeah. Where else do we see Dougie the looter?
He is Seymour from Burn Notice, the weapons guy, right. The weapons dealer.
Yes.
He's only in 2 episodes, but he makes an impression.
He does. He's a good weapons dealer for sure.
Yeah.
Well spotted, sir. As listeners may know, Mike and I both share a fondness for Burn Notice as well.
Absolutely.
So when those characters cross over, it's a nice time. Okay. Moving on, we're going to catch up with Scully, who is tending to Deputy Greer, who is not getting better. Walter and Angela have joined Scully, and Walter asks where Harry is. He hasn't evacuated as his crutches are still there. Mulder comes in with the Hawaiian shirt looter. While Mulder goes outside to chat with Scully, they need to get out of here. George Vincent, in his apartment, overhears them talking as he paces around his gun-laden kitchen table, muttering about his rights. The camera pans up to reveal a sea monster tentacle slink into a light fixture filled with water as we fade to commercial.
I like it.
I don't think anything bad is going to happen in the next scene, do you?
No, not at all. But just the effect of it being a translucent tentacle, you can really tell. Simple to do, but I think they did a really good job there, just having it kind of slosh around the lamp.
Mm-hmm. It's so otherworldly, but I'm beginning to develop a profile as I watch the episode of the sort of capabilities of our sea monster.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So it can clearly sense movement, or it can sense, that there is prey nearby. But it must exist in seawater. It can't exist like completely out of seawater.
Right.
And as we'll come to learn, freshwater apparently is its vulnerability. Fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. It also will wrap its tentacles around people's necks, and as it does so, it leaves welts. We're about to find out that the welts are not just welts, they're how it reproduces. It puts its spawn into the welts. And I guess it can also feed on those bodies, like it can completely consume the body. I'm hitting all the right notes?
I think you're right.
Okay.
So far, so good.
Excellent. So
A
that's
cocoon,
our
if you
villain
will.
so far. Yeah. All right. We're looking back at Scully looking after Greer, taking every possible safety precaution by wearing a bandana around her face. Greer is running a fever of 106, so he's in big trouble. She wants to get him into a tub of cold water to bring his temperature down. She figures out that these welts are not just welts. There are little versions of our sea monster in there, which she pulls out with a pair of tongs. As they settle Greer into the tub, we hear gunshots outside. Clearly, Mr. Vincent has found the tentacle in his lights. The agents rush to investigate. Mulder's sidling up beside the door, his gun safely unloaded so he won't hurt anyone. Inside, George blasts shot after shot with his shotgun into the ceiling until he runs out of ammo coming to the door. Mulder orders him to put his shotgun down, but George calmly tells him it's going to take more than this to kill whatever I just saw. So yeah, you notice the old empty magazine in the gun?
Oh, absolutely.
That's a heads are going to roll kind of offense right there.
Yeah.
That's a Starbucks coffee cup in Game of Thrones.
How dare you equip Mulder with a fake gun? God.
Yeah, that was pretty. But we've seen this on so many episodes, like guns with their slides racked back, and yeah.
I suppose it's better than just rusting it.
Okay.
Where Alec Baldwin killed someone.
Oh, I guess. Yeah, I wish I had got that reference at the time. That would be much more funny.
Too soon, Michael.
It's better than them walking around with just their fingers and thumbs to make guns.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew, pew,
No,
pew.
you're dead. I got you.
I got you first.
You're dead.
Well, back inside the apartment, we see, and this is George Vincent's apartment where he's shot up the place. We see the ceiling destroyed from either tentacles coming down or shotgun blasts going up. George says he caught it out of the corner of his eye and attacked him. Scully thinks it was just the sewer pipe that burst. Mulder thinks whatever it is burst through the sewer pipe. All of these conjectures, it could be anything. But worryingly, Mulder thinks it's still in the building. And worst of all, Angela has to pee.
Uh-oh.
Nobody wants to get her
Woman's
away.
nightmare. Yes, that is correct. Along with the toilet spiders and the snake curling up from underneath the toilet, there's water tentacles that can come and kill you while you're peeing.
Yeah. I think it has been said that this inspired some fear of using the toilet during a hurricane, but it's unreasonable, I would say. I don't think everybody really worries about that.
I do.
You only pee outside.
Absolutely.
In the rain, the fresh, blessedly innocent rain of outside.
Yes.
Back in the apartment, we see looter Dougie using soap to steal Deputy Greer's well-worn gold wedding ring. In the process of getting it off, he manages to spill a container of Epsom salts into the bath.
I'm sorry, did you see the soap fly out of the frame?
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's weird. I don't know how they did that, but it's just like horizontally shoots out of this guy's hand.
It's a great comic turn. I mean, he's such a funny actor too, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
Is his whole performance, okay, worth digressing, but it's so understated, but it's all in his expression. It's like, he knows he's been caught. He knows that they're in some shit, but he's still like, it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity. No one's looking. I'm going to take this guy's wedding ring.
I'm going to take that watch over there. What else can I just put in my pockets?
Bastard.
Well, our party of reluctant adventurers returns to the apartment, and Angela goes to use the toilet. The talk of explosive urination causes Mulder to use his superpower. The storm has dredged up something unknown and brought it up through the sewers in the building. Scully is not buying it until Angela flees the bathroom in terror. She saw it as giant arms like an octopus. Mulder goes in to investigate, but whipping over the curtain with a sting, we see that the deputy has completely disappeared, except for his clothes. Now, Mulder's superpower goes into overdrive.
Where'd he go?
I think the deputy went out with the bathwater.
I mean, he was in there with it?
No, I don't think he was.
Well, she said she saw it.
I'm sure she did. Look, Scully, I think I know why nobody's ever seen this thing before. It just doesn't live in water. It is water, taking shape only when it attacks, like it did when the hurricane backed seawater into the plumbing. Virtually unseeable until then.
Mulder, if that were true, then this wouldn't be visible, would it? I mean, what this is showing us is that water actually attempts to kill it.
Oh, maybe you just impeded its reproductive process. Maybe it needs time to complete its cycle like it had with the Shipleys.
Oh, the Shipleys weren't even in their house.
No, they were when they were attacked, just like the deputy was here. Using their bodies to lay its own spawn, using the body's water content to reproduce itself, to make itself anew.
You mean he turned into one of those things?
There are more of them?
You gotta get out of here.
We're in the middle of a
Well,
hurricane.
we gotta get to another building.
Mulder, we can't. There's no way that we can transport everybody.
Look, we can use the deputy's prowler. How many people? We got 2, 4.
Oh no, Looter Dougie, he's gone.
Looter, you
Yep.
son of a bitch.
Our unnamed Hawaiian t-shirt wearing looter has disappeared, stealing the deputy's car and stranding our characters in certain death. Okay.
So
I loved the monster stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. The superpower that you seem to hate.
Oh,
is,
no? It's a convenient little way for information to get transmitted to us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is it too much for you in this moment?
The only thing I guess I dislike about it is most of the episode is very suspenseful. And when Mulder sits down on the side of the bathtub to explain to us how this creature must be, next to the not there corpse of Deputy Greer, it just feels like this isn't the right place or time. And it's kind of there in Scully's voice. It's like, this is not the right time to be talking about this, but you're going to talk about this.
We're going to keep going.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's just Mulder, that in the face of a crisis, he can still try and think rationally, try and sort it out. That's how maybe he copes. So I'm okay with it. It just felt a little bit calm for him in that moment. Like if he could do it with a bit more urgency, I think it would have helped the episode and made me believe it. But in that moment, I'm just like, no, you just got wrote, that you gotta deliver this exposition because it's going to help us make sense of this whole thing.
He just sips a cup of coffee when he's finished. Everything's cool. Right. Everything's calm and collected right now.
So the complete disappearance of the deputy, and as much as the other victims of these attacks, Evan and his mother, Jack Shipley. I mean, we saw the manager of apartment buildings. There was part of him on the toilet, and later he's not there.
Right.
I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is Greer is literally there when Angela is having a pee. She flies out. Mulder goes in mere seconds later, and his body's completely gone.
Just gone. Yeah. A little too fast. Fast. They do that several times in the show where things have to move, but they've initiated it a little too late.
Yeah. I mean, a little time passing and I'd be okay with it, but
Do a crossfade. One crossfade in the right position or the right spot, it would change everything.
You'd be all right. I mean, you could try and say, well, maybe it's the Epsom salts which accelerated it.
That's the idea. That's what they want us to believe.
And that's the only thing that makes sense. But it doesn't make sense because, like, nothing works that fast.
Right.
Nothing, man. But I mean, I think the writers and producers have thought about it, which is where the Epsom salts came from at all.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Mulder rushes out to confirm that indeed the car has been stolen. He glances up at a light fixture to see a tentacle swimming around, and as he sees it, it smashes through, attacking him, and we cut to commercial. So, oh no, Mulder's going to die because everything that gets attacked by this thing dies. Math checks out. Mulder's dead.
Okay.
This is the end of the series. It's been
this
a good
is
run.
how, he took down the conspiracy.
Yeah.
So let's get him out of here.
Doesn't have anything to live for.
New agent. We got to follow someone else now.
That's right. It's going to be Fowler and Scully.
Oh, that would go well. You're a stupid bitch. No, you are.
Your hair is too perfect.
Mulder was mine first. Well, now he's neither of ours.
Keep on going. I like it.
I don't know. It's a love triangle that they wanted us to see, so I'm just keep going with that angle. So it's got to be a love triangle. With only 2 members for the rest of the show.
Mulder is the third triangle, part of the triangle, but he's gone.
He's never there.
Can't get over him. That breaks the Bechdel test for sure. Okay. After the commercial, Mulder is stumbling back to the apartment, Scully voicing our concern. Are you okay? When George shines his flashlight on him, we see the telltale welts on his neck. He's clearly a goner. George pulls Scully back in the apartment and slams shut the door, holding the rest of them at gunpoint. Scully goes livid. She's arguing with George. They can't just leave Mulder out there. She can help him. Well, George notes the threat is outside there with him, and Walter notes that she couldn't save the deputy. Of course, they didn't know about the Epsom salts. Angela decides to raise the tension levels a little bit by going into labor.
That's the last thing this episode needed.
I argue that it is a deft touch. I'm okay with it. And it is nice that they introduced that as the problem. She's overdue with pregnancy, which is like the equivalent of hanging the gun on the wall. It's going to be shot at some point, right?
Just in an already loud episode, it takes another loud turn.
There's going to be some screaming now.
Yes.
Outside, Mulder slumps on the ground, seeing tentacles squirming in the light fixtures in the ceiling. He lumbers away, trying to save himself. He makes it to the door as the storm rages outside. Back inside the apartment, George makes his position clear, while Scully decides she's going to go help Angela. She admits she's never delivered a baby before, so George better put away that gun and stay out of her way. Angela begins to try and deliver her baby, with Walter helping and George watching. We have a great over-the-shoulder shot of water filling the light fixture on the ceiling, and we've had so many light fixture shots that we know at some point the monster is going to appear there. So far, so good. And this is another great example of Rob Bowman and his use of shots of water.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's pouring in, through cracks in the windows and such. Water's everywhere. But
this is actually my hotel room. When my wife and I went to Punta Cana last year, the last night we were there was a torrential downpour, and we had to come in from the beach. And our ceiling was literally bubbling, and water was falling in our bathroom. We had to switch rooms the last night.
Well, it's nice that they had a room they could switch you to, because
it took some doing, but yeah. I had to convince them to do it.
Well, as you should. I mean, they can't just give those rooms away.
Bastards. It was a nice room, though.
I'm glad it was.
I will say that the tentacle attacked the guy who came to mop up the water and not us. We got out just in time.
Ooh, well, I mean, that's just good marks for that place if they're going to throw a guy under the bus for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to the show. Mulder continues to struggle to breathe while he hears Reggie the cat outside. Again, I don't know what David Amon is thinking about cats. I mean, no, this cat is nowhere near this, but he is canonically here now.
It's a weird thing. I don't understand it. The need to do this. But the cat is just sitting there watching Mulder, pawing at the air in water. Kudos to the cat for actually being trained to do that.
And there are production notes about this. I thought it was animatronic, but that's a real cat. And it is legit doing its paw raise. Like there's a cat wrangler which taught it how to do that. I think that is so anti-cat. It's just
the one cat that acts like not a cat.
Exactly.
And they found it, or they taught it that way. It's
David Duchovny says the cat was one of his best acting partners. So I guess you had to be there. Well, we linger in this moment for an oddly weird amount of time. Mulder making some kind of realization about the rainwater, but then we're back in the labor of the apartment. Water continuing to fill the light fixture, Scully continuing to help with the delivery. Scully sees the tentacle emerge into the light fixture, at the same time feeling the baby emerge. She says, "Here it comes," which is a delightful double entendre.
She tosses the baby at the tentacle. And everyone takes the opportunity to leave as it scoops the baby into the ceiling.
The baby's the one that deserves it.
If only.
Nothing good happens with babies for me. So, Angela, take my advice. Just give it up to the tentacle and we'll get
She
out
found out she was the mother of this baby, too. And she's just preempting the sequel episode. She's like, kill it now. Not in another episode.
Angela, you have to name this baby Emily. I won't get into the reasons why, but it'll make sense to the writers later.
Yes.
Okay, she goes to wash her hands in a container of water, and then she stares at them, realizing fresh water is the answer. But she's too busy taking a baby out of Angela to put the pieces together, and as the baby emerges, so does the tentacle, smashing out of the light to attack George. George is pulled up from the ground, dropping his gun to try and pull the tentacles off his neck. Scully tells Walter to grab the gun and shoot out the sprinklers, and we have the cinematic, climactic conclusion to our scene. Walter takes careful aim and shoots, hard-cutting us to darkness. Well, that was a hell of a scene, Mike. What do you think?
Chirp, chirp, chirp. Sunny morning. Oh.
Yes, right. And it was all over. Nothing happened yesterday.
No, it's a good bit of tension. I really like that. Again, the thing with Mulder and the cat, a little weird.
Yeah.
But the ending tension is really cool. Really cinematic, the way they cut to the next shot, you know?
Yeah.
Suddenly it's morning with the gunshot going black. You know, good stuff.
Suddenly it is morning. It's the aftermath of the hurricane, a clear and sunny day at Dale's trailer park, as Scully takes call outside, surrounded by felled palm trees. Inside, Mulder shows off his war wounds, the welts caused by the tentacle attack. Scully gives us the last of the exposition required for this episode. Angela's baby is 10 pounds and doing fine. Dale's remarks on Scully's heroism. In addition to delivering a baby, she killed off the monster and saved Mulder's life. Well, Mulder suggests that he saved himself by seeing the cat safely in the fresh water of the rain. But Dale's isn't buying it. He credits Scully with Mulder's survival. He even goes on to suggest that if he'd had a partner like Scully at his side, maybe he wouldn't have retired. We have a final gag as he goes to get them drinks for a toast, asking if they'd like water. They both respond with an emphatic no. There it is, Mike. Agua Mala. I will now hear your final thoughts.
Fun episode. Aside from my comments of it being extremely loud, which it is, ladies and gentlemen.
If you just turn down the volume, it's fine.
It's too busy for me. I think there's too much going on. I'm not usually affected by stuff like that, but there's just a lot of yelling in this episode that feels overpowering at times. Well written. I think it's a good time. It's just humorous enough with the one-liners about all the nuts rolling down to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Always great to see Arthur Dale's back. Dustin McGavin. Dustin. Excuse me, sir. I apologize. Don't roll over in your grave.
Yeah,
Darren
2006,
McGavin.
unfortunately for him. This was his last TV appearance.
Was this his last TV appearance?
This was his last, yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, kudos, sir. Good job.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a fun turn for him. They gave him some weighty dialogue. It was nice.
Yeah. He wasn't as much of a wall piece as he was in the first episode he was in. He was more of a framing device that was barely in the episode there, but
yeah.
But yeah, he gets more dialogue here, more to do, and good to see him. Great voice, and As for the creature effects, I think they're actually really good, really well done. More minimalism. You know, they don't do a whole lot with it other than a couple tentacle shots and some behind the scenes tentacle shots, which are really cool. They look really good, like we commented on in the light with the translucent tentacle. It really ramps up the tension, especially in the last scene. So overall, fun episode. To your point, it gets lost in the mix. It's not necessarily a failing of the episode. It's just one of those episodes that gets kind of swept under the rug in dialogue of good episodes.
I think they do it to themselves because they wrap it up so nicely at the end. You don't really take away what they have been through. Like you don't have a lasting impact. You know, the episode
to think of or think about.
Exactly. They don't have a lot to take away other than, you know, there's not going to be scars on his neck when we see him again.
That's true.
I mean, I'll just give you my final thoughts, and that is to say that it's been a while since we've had a really nice ensemble cast, and I think we do here. Like, as I said, we had Ice, Firewalker, and Jersey Devil, and for the writing, it's well done. They offer pretty solid stereotypes for us to lean on and a unique environment to place the story. I mean, the whole thing is about bringing back Dales for an episode, and while it's okay, I don't think they use him very well. I mean, they basically, as you said, use him as a framing device. He doesn't really lend anything crucial to drive the plot, other than he lives next door and he brings the agents there. He's got a few little bits, weighty things to say, but you know, he's just basically chewing the furniture while the agents go off and do something. He's not imperative to resolving the plot.
Yeah, he's not there to do anything necessarily, but he's just one of those, we're happy to see him, so let's throw him into the episode.
And why not? I don't need to run over the problems I've got with the monster. It's really just about consistency, like the almost immediate disappearance of Deputy Greer, the weird vulnerability to fresh water. I mean, does that mean there's going to be a big dead alien monster inside the house for scientists?
All the pipes are clogged now.
Yeah.
It's just laying there, congealing.
Right. Yeah, the property's a write-off, sir. I don't think, the guy who owns it's dead. So anyway, nobody's going to care.
Doesn't matter.
Burn it down. If anything, the complete disappearance of the monster is probably the episode's weakest point. When the sun comes out, we'll never hear another thing about this remarkable freak of nature. And that's probably just the way the show wants it. The agent survived, and that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, it's an entertaining monster of the week, and that is just what we signed up for.
Indeed.
It did it for me. I mean, as much as you say you didn't like that there's so much going on, I kind of did. Like, it was this frenetic action sequence, and they did the classic things of like, this thing happens and it gets worse, and then this thing happens and it gets worse.
Yeah.
You know, and then the guy drives away with their car and they're trapped there. So it's a classic horror story in a way. Like, how do you survive it? I'm not sure I'm a fan of the resolution of just shoot the water sprinklers and now we're going to be all okay. That felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. Am I wrong?
Yeah, it's a little easy. I think there's a lot of places this thing could hide. And in that one room, sure, okay, maybe they killed that one or part of it or something. But I think shooting the sprinklers is probably not going to solve your problem for the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. I mean, if maybe the storm tapers out in the next 5 minutes and that's, that's where we'll resolve. And then they can get away. I would go with that. But in a way, we don't need to see that. It does what it needed to do, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
So, do we have any listener comments from the post you put up like 2 minutes ago? Or?
2 minutes? No. We do have one. Let me see here. Emily Messenger says, Agua Mala is a fun monster of the week. It's always a treat to see Arthur again. Fun and lighthearted, but not one I often think of. I think that is the resounding thing about this episode is that it's forgettable, not in a negative way. Just it just gets lost, and everyone's talking about it. Everyone is mentioning that it's something that that they don't think of when they think of good X-Files episodes.
It's interesting, and I can't put my finger on why that is. But
we said something similar about Folie à Deux. And that is a
really
fantastic episode. Yeah.
It is.
Really good. The acting is phenomenal. And then it's somewhere in the ether. Just doesn't come up.
Yeah, I think it comes back to the fact that there is so much good content in this series, and the mythology tends to steal the show. I mean, it was certainly the primary reason I was watching episodes was to see that story develop. It was one of the first TV series that had an evolving story arc. So it was cool in that way. So when we had a monster of the week, I was like, oh, it's just a monster of the week. I mean, they're good, but it's not really what I'm after. So it is refreshing to go back and watch them with the eye of like evaluating each episode on its own merits. And this is a really good episode. Quality cast and crew, and the script is okay. You know, it's more than okay. It's pretty solid. I mean, I'm maybe not a total fan of the monster. I think it could have been a little bit I don't know what consistent, I think is what I'm after. But
less superpowers and more consistency.
Yeah, it could be pretty simple. I mean, that's oftentimes when the episodes work is when they are simple and they just tease out the good stuff. But I think that's probably the episode. Do we have anything else we want to say about Agua Mala?
No, I think we did it justice and had fun talking about it. Bran gave us some interesting tidbits of information as well.
He is shaping up to be a solid member of the field research team.
He is a wonderful syndicate member. Well, I'm good. If you're
excellent.
Good, we can say.
Well, then, without further ado, I shall give you the final word for our show tonight.
Drink up.
Well, the question of who's going to answer this mystery is answered when Dale sees headlights. I put down headlines in my script. I'm like, headlines pass by the window? That doesn't make sense. Here, let me do that again and better. The question is answered when Dale sees headlines pass by outside. I know
this is the quality you get when you join us live.
I know how to solve this. I'm just going to change the words. That way when I read
it's
them...
Agent Stana-Cipher and Kinsley. So I was close. Kinsley. I just added a few syllables to his name. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at TINHXFilesPod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.